And don't be surprised or alarmed. Most of us charge for our consultations. The fees can vary. Sometimes they can be $50 on up to an hour of our time. And I think a lot of us do this, and I can probably speak for Lena when I say, when we're taking time away from other cases to speak to you, that costs money. And so both of us have young children. So there's a very limited time during the day when we can do what we need to do. So most attorneys do charge for their consultations. Some still do free, but don't be surprised if you're charged for their time. A lot of times, Lena, people come and say, I just feel so lost, right? So I like to give a practical sense of how this is going to go and a legal kind of roadmap for how this is going to go before we get to the legal questions, right? Because I'm just going to ask you the questions I always hear in my consultations, but I think it's important that you have to think about the practical side of this too. So if this goes forward, what does custody and visitation look like until this process begins? Are you going to stay in the same house? Is someone leaving? Kind of what does that look like? And if you're not the earning spouse, will you have access to the resources that you need? So kind of how do you walk your potential clients through that practical consideration?
I ask them all those questions. It's sort of like, what do you see happening? Are you going to have access to money? If you don't have access to money, maybe get access to money before, you let your spouse know that you're filing for this divorce. How is your spouse going to react? So we sort of develop a plan for how to introduce the divorce to them. Sometimes it's, hey, if you guys are in therapy already, maybe you discuss this during your therapy session with a third party involved so that it doesn't come as such a shock. And so there isn't a ton of blowback. So I have these types of conversations with my clients. And I think, we as family law attorneys, we don't know your spouse. You know your spouse the best. So you have to provide us with the information about how you believe this is going to go so that we can then sort of cater our advice accordingly. And I did just want to comment on something else Demetria said. It's not just our time you're paying for in a consult, but it's our advice. It's our actual legal expertise. And if you have an initial consult with us, we are giving you legal advice. And that's our job, right? So that's what you're paying for, not just our time. But anyway, back to the practical considerations. I think a lot of people going into divorce are just very emotional and they just want to start the process and get moving. But once the train starts moving, you can't pull it back. It's very hard to get back and then say, oh my God, I gotta get money. I need a bank account. I don't know where our tax returns are. That's all very hard to do after the train started moving. So the more we can sort of go over with the potential clients, kind of checking off all the boxes, the better. So I think spouse's personality is a big first question that I ask, and then sort of advice flows from there.
And I say also, it's a marathon, not a sprint. A lot of people want to come in today and be divorced next month. I'm like, it's just not going to go that way. There are other considerations, mediation, private judging that you can consider that may be a little faster. But unfortunately, especially where we are in Los Angeles County, it is going to take some time.